Now let's talk about some basic organizing principles of information. And the place to start is by getting to know nodes. While that sounds potentially invasive, I assure you that it's not. A node is the basic unit of any information structure. A node can be as small as a single number, right, which could be the size of a t-shirt, or as large as an entire library, which could be something like men's apparel. By dealing with a node instead of specific details, we can use a common language and a common set of ideas across many different kinds of problems. The organizing principles that we use determine how the nodes in any information structure are arranged. In other words, it tells us which nodes are grouped together and which are kept separate. It allows us to tell the difference between things that are related and things that aren't related. By way of example, if we're building a corporate website, and we have three important categories that are very high up in the information chain, such as consumer, business, investor, then our audience is the organizing principle of the site. We're organizing information based on who the audience is. In the instance of a travel website, our high-level categories might be North America, Europe, Africa. Those are three buckets of information, three groups of things, three places we can go to expect to find related information. So in this case, geography is the organizing principle. So in these two cases, the organizing principles we use have everything to do with who our audience is, what their objectives are in using the site, and what their information needs may be. There are a couple rules of thumb to keep in mind here. Number one is that the organizing principles you use at the very highest levels of navigation of your site, your application, should be the ones that are most closely related to user needs, what people want, and business objectives, what you need to deliver. The organizing principles that are used at the lower levels are usually influenced more by feature specifications and content requirements. You have to remember that every collection of information has a built-in conceptual structure, and in most cases, it has more than one. And what I really mean there is that there are certain assumptions and associations that human beings have, and every collection of information is either going to match those expectations and assumptions, or it isn't. So the issue is creating the right structure for our objectives and creating the right structure that matches user need. For instance, if you're looking at a website that is all about computers, one possible organizing principle could be the weight of the computer. However, that probably doesn't make much sense to organize it that way because to most consumers, they're more concerned with the size of the processor, its speed, its cost. Okay, there are any number of things that are very important to that specific audience. So your organizing principle has to match the conceptual model that the person has. In a general sense, these attributes, these organizing principles that we're talking about, are facets. Facets are attributes of an information set that can provide a very flexible set of organizing principles for just about any kind of content. But as we just illustrated, using the wrong facets can sometimes be worse than using none at all. What we see a lot of is sites or apps that position every conceivable facet as an organizing principle. And we say, okay, well, we'll let the users pick what's important. The problem is that unless you're dealing with a really, really simple set of information, the architecture and the organization and the navigation becomes a giant mess, okay? It's everything and anything, and it's very difficult for users to pick out what's most important to them or to identify the things that align with the reason they're there in the first place. When users have too many options to sort through, they often can't find anything. So it's our job, not the visitors, not the users, to identify the specific attributes of the information that will be the most useful, the most usable, the most valuable to the people who are using what we create.